older populations so that, younger populations that would make these positive adaptations regardless. Realistically, you can throw anything at a youthful population, but like maybe an older population, 50 and above, that has a harder time adapting would be a better use. So in terms of designing
that variable right there, that variable would make every personal trainer, every single strength and conditioning coach, and every therapist shit their pants, because they're like, we got to get people who are already probably broken in many different regards, and then we have to fix them and then get them to move better. And I want to actually mention this: every single exercise system has a rate of injury, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Not FP. We have a negative injury rate. That's the thing with FP. We have a negative rate of return, and we make people do some crazier shit with their body that they could never think that they would be able to do. And we have a negative rate of injury. So we don't injure people. I saw Ido, and speaking on Ido Portal, because I'm not a fan. As you guys probably know, I'm not a fan of Ido Portal. And the reason I say that I'm not a fan is because he justifies a lot of stupid shit. And namely, I saw him talking on the Andrew Huberman podcast. My research team brought it to my attention that he was saying that if I don't push you to an injury, then I'm not really doing my job.
Yeah,
and I'm like, I'm like, really? There's no way of intelligently progressing somebody to a backflip without hurting their body. That just sounds like a justification because you're not able to account for enough variables. That's what it sounds like to me. That's what I'm going to take it as. And I think that that's bullshit. I think at some point you have to just say, you know what? I'm not accounting for much. And this is why I become politicized, Anthony, as you mentioned before, that, I have a political outlook on things. Capitalism doesn't necessarily, I'm a capitalist. I've succeeded in capitalism. I'm succeeding in capitalism, and I will continue to succeed as a capitalist because I'm an adaptive organism. But capitalism doesn't afford us the opportunity to literally change our position very much, because capitalism rewards those who have foresight instead of those who have hindsight. So Warren Buffett is very, very financially successful. For what reason? Because he has foresight. That's why he has made loads of money. He's able to predict the future. Anybody who's made wise investments has happened to do that. Anybody who starts a company that can help with problems in the future is the company that ends up succeeding in the end. And so, as I see it, unless you have good foresight, it's very difficult to make it in capitalism. And what I think I did differently than other people in this industry is I didn't come into this industry thinking that I was a specialist because I had some certification or because there was a governing body that told me that I was certified or that I was good. I came into this industry knowing that I'm an idiot and that I'm not very smart and there's so much to learn, and that I can learn one thing at a time, whereas reality operates at probably, trillions of bits of information per second. And I'm only able to process maybe like a few bits of information per second. So I came into it with this humility, and always telling people when I run my courses, like, hey, take what I say with a grain of salt because it's going to change. And I've told people that from the very beginning, and I tell them that today. It's like, don't take what I say as fact. And I do that, and then people still want to take what I say like as if I was saying something in matters of fact instead of saying things in relation to context. And so, what put me on this subject matter, guys? What was it?
The variable.
Testing for variables.
Yeah.
Yes. So going back to testing for variables. It's really, I want to just perfect the practice. And then at that point, any scientist who wants to step up and test any variables with it, they're going to notice a difference. Because if you account for mechanotransduction at a fundamental level, you're talking to the nuclear genes directly. And if you give the nuclear genes new information through your myofascial network, through your microtubules directly into your nuclear genes, then at that point you're signaling new ways that we are going to express ourselves genetically. So at that point, it's not of interest. I don't care to test myself scientifically because I've already seen the benefits. You guys have already seen the results. And I mean, obviously people that are on the other side that stand to lose money by me succeeding, they're going to come up with every excuse in the book to try and deny them. But there's going to come a point where the results are going to get so good, and they're already getting to that point. If you guys look at the most recent ones from the recent HBS courses, they're going to get way fucking better. So it's already too late. Cat's out of the bag, right? I've already certified enough people, and I've given them such good principles that they're going to be able to solve problems. So you can sit here and shoot it down all you want, but if I see it working right in front of my eyes and I see the output because I understand how to process information in an applied context, when you put it into a scientific format, it's going to be an automatic that some kind of a change is being categorized. Never mind that. How many longitudinal studies happen to exist in this industry? When you look at rehab, when you look at performance training, how many longitudinal studies are there?
not that many, and the variables are pretty poor. So,
But
yeah.
but let's forget about the variables. How many longitudinal studies are there, William?
I can't tell you. I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, well, there's not many, right? You could probably, as it relates to the fitness industry, they're not testing long term, from my understanding. So at the end of the day, unless I see, we are not going to know what what functional patterns does until 30, 40 years from now. I'm aiming for 30, 40 years from now. I defer gratification. I'm a master of it. This is what I do. I stopped training and I gave up my vanity so I could defer gratification, so I could think about getting a reward in the long term. So yeah, I mean, we could conduct all sorts of studies that validate my biases all we want, but we're not really going to know until 40 years from now. When you see one group of people that are applying what I'm talking about, and then another group of people who are choosing not to, and one looks very healthy and regenerative, and then the other one doesn't look very healthy and is degenerative, at some point, it's going to be so evident, just like, the difference between riding a donkey or riding a Tesla, is going to be that evident that you don't really need to conduct the study anymore. It's just going to be freaking obvious over time. And that's really what my job is to make it so fucking undeniable, to literally be the Michael Jordan of my field, so that therefore at that point it leaves nobody a single excuse to say anything. You won't even need a scientific study to pretty much validate what I'm talking about. In the next 20, 30 years, that's going to be my prediction. And what I see and what I'm seeing and what I'm experiencing is not lying to me.